This is the fourth round of the FIA World Endurance Championship, the 24 hours of Le Mans, the longest, most competitive race of the season. And I mean, just look at this grid. Everybody wants to lift the trophy here, to write their name into the history books at one of the most iconic racetracks in the world. And don't forget, there are double points on offer here. It could be a championship-defining race. So, welcome to your race preview for the 2025 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I'm delighted to be joined by our resident WEC expert, Sam Smith. And Sam, I've used just about every superlative under the sun to describe Le Mans, but what does Le Mans mean nowadays to you?
Well, I thought we'd run out of superlatives, to be honest with you, Alexa, last season, but you can go into cliches about what this means. It is the biggest endurance race of the season, but counterintuitively, it's a flat-out sprint. It's absolutely from the tricolour flying, which will be Roger Federer, of course. Let's hope there's no tie breaks this year, until the checkered flag. It is just a flat-out sprint. There is no margin for error. The teams have to be absolutely on point in the pit stops. So it's about perfection, but it is an absolute flat-out sprint now.
And actually, don't forget that every single session of Le Mans is available to watch live on FIAWEC.tv from Wednesday, so make sure you're tuning in. And first things first, let's reflect a little on last year, but also the season so far. Because ultimately, it's been a story of Ferrari dominance. Ferrari have won every Le Mans they've entered in the Hypercar era, and they've won every WEC race this season. So the question kind of stands, who can beat them?
Are they the favourites? That's the big question. There is a consensus in the paddock that they probably are. They're going for that hat-trick, which would be an incredible story for them to do, 3 out of 3 with this fabulous 499p. I actually think from what we saw from the test day, that possibly themselves and Toyota, if anything, are kind of joint favourites for this. We know the Ferrari works fantastically well around here. They've got the momentum. The longevity that they have on the tyres is where they've really picked up from the last 2 seasons, and they look super strong. I think it's going to take a big effort from particularly Toyota on pace from what we saw. If the conditions are dry, I expect actually another group behind them, probably consisting of Caddy, BMW, potentially Alpine, and Porsche maybe, to really push them all the way.
Well, you touched on Toyota there, and actually that's the team I want to talk about next, because they were the first ever manufacturer to enter this era, the hypercar era of the WEC, and they have such a prowess, such a history at Le Mans. What needs to change this year for them to be able to retake that title from Ferrari?
Yeah, I mean, they've proved actually this season, I think, that they have got the power to actually overturn the general pace of the car. Operationally, they've been superb. That 4th place that the number 8 got at Spa was, I think, one of the performances of the last few years for the package that they had, which was actually probably the 4th or 5th strongest package on that field on that day. So we know they've got the operational excellence, we know they've got the car. From what we saw at the test day, they've got the pace, because they were over a second quicker than they'd been last season as well. And you know, it'd be a fantastic story going for a 6th Le Mans victory. Sebastian Buemi is going for his 5th. If they can tick that off, it'd be fantastic. And the crowd are going to have so much to enjoy about Toyota's attack this year, because they've got 2 liveries to look forward to, haven't they?
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that red livery on the number 7, is that correct?
Correct. We got the number 7 and the number 8. Number 7 has got the famous red livery from 1998, which ran in 98 and 99. Ukyo Katayama almost won that race, but had a puncture within an hour, I think, of the finish. And the reason why they've got that livery is because it's the 40th anniversary of Toyota first racing here at Le Mans. Fantastic story, and actually a nice link from 85 to now is that Satoru Nakajima was one of the drivers there, and of course Kazuki Nakajima is part of that team. So a nice little top and tail of Toyota's history here.
And actually, before we go any further, I realised, speaking of different coloured liveries, how could I forget to talk about the yellow Ferrari, the number 83, that has so much been challenging the factory Ferraris this season. Robert Kubica has got a little bit of history with Le Mans, and surely some history and some stories that he'd like to rewrite and correct this year.
Yeah, it was tough last year, wasn't it? They were quick, you know, a nice wash of yellow at the front of the field. Robert was super quick. We know how fast he is. We know the pace that he has. His inherent skill was fantastic. But it kind of crossed over a bit, didn't it, last season, that controversial clash on the Mulsanne straight, took out Dries Van Toor in the BMW, and the penalty did affect that car, and then they had a problem later on in the race after getting themselves back into contention. I think the 83 has got every chance, and it tops the first session in the test day as well. So yeah, watch out for the wash of yellow coming across for Ferrari as well this season.
Good. I'm glad we ticked them off. Now let's move on to Porsche. Last year's Drivers' World Champions, but this season just hasn't quite felt like anything's clicked into place. They come into Le Mans with 3 cars. Can you tell us a little bit about where they stand, Sam?
Yes, we've got 4 cars in total, haven't we? We've got the Proton car as well.
Oh, you got me there.
So
True.
We've got an addition with the number 4 car, which is Pascal Wehrlein,
yes,
Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasser. 2 of those drivers, Felipe Nasser and Nick Tandy, going for an unparalleled and unique unofficial triple crown with Sebring and Daytona. That would be an amazing story if they would do that. They haven't actually shared a car together yet, so there's a few question marks on whether they can get in amongst the leaders.
It'll be interesting.
I think Porsche could be, it sounds ridiculous to say, but could be a dark horse to infiltrate that Toyota and Ferrari at the front, that battle at the front. What I would say as well is, a 20th win for Porsche potentially here would be a huge story. And the 963 has proved, obviously last season winning the championship, that it is quick. It's been in that mix at Le Mans for the last 2 seasons, but hasn't quite got the full result that I think that they really deserved.
And speaking of teams that deserve results, and certainly a manufacturer, it's Cadillac. And I have a funny feeling coming into this year about Cadillac, and maybe I'm just an odds person, because there are 4 different caddies on the grid this year, 4 of 19. The odds for a good result are pretty good, Sam.
Well, we know the caddy works well around here. The Dallara chassis which it uses is pretty adept at this circuit. Yeah, they've doubled up, haven't they? We've got the Whelan entry with some good young drivers with Frederick Vesti and Felipe Drugovich and Jack Aitken as well. We've also got the Wayne Taylor Racing, first time that Wayne Taylor Racing, a stalwart and a storied stalwart of IMSA racing, has come to Le Mans with the Taylor brothers and Philippe Albuquerque as well. So really strong lineups across the board. I think we didn't quite see their pace in the test day, but I think that car has got the real capacity and capability to challenge at the front as well.
And a storyline I would love to have for our French fans this year, a home fairy tale, Alpine and Peugeot. A real mixed run of results for both cars this year, some success, some struggles. Where do you think they both stand as we come into this race?
I think certainly Alpine, from what we saw at the test day with that 4th quickest time and the momentum they got from Spa where they led for a good tranche of that race, I think they just come in good at the right time. And I think that package, quite slippery on the straights, and 36 car of Frederick Makovici, Jules Gounon and of course Mick Schumacher, I think they just seem to be a real force with that car that they have with the A424, and they've got a massive amount of home support this season, and it's the 70th anniversary of Alpine's existence as well. They won in 1978, of course, famously with Didier Pironi and Jean-Pierre Jussard, so they've got a nice heritage, but I think for this race they could be a real threat. Peugeot, bit more of a difficult story. Peugeot had a difficult test day, bit of a struggle across the board there. They'll be looking for a finish, and look, we can occasionally get races of attrition, and Peugeot have proved that when they get an opportunity, they can actually get there and get a decent result. They've got a podium, they've had some strong performances in recent races, so you never know, they could be a surprise package.
And briefly, I just want to touch on BMW as well, the WRT team. How do they look coming into this one?
They look pretty good. I mean, I think they're the one manufacturer, the one brand that people aren't quite certain about. We saw last year that they had the pace. Dries Van Toor was amazingly quick last season. The 15 and 20 cars have had sort of differing results. Spa was difficult for the 15 because they had a sort of tyre disadvantage because they were using the soft tyres. But as we saw with the 20 car with Robin Freins and René Rast, who were there as a pair, of course, and joined now by their 3rd driver with Sheldon van der Linde, who's back, and Dries Van Toor's back in that mould as well. I think actually, again, they could actually creep up, particularly in qualifying, and then let's see where they are in the race. But they got a lot of data from last year, and I think they'll be equally as good as they were last year. And
last, but by no means least, the newcomer this year, the Aston Martin Valkyrie, a fan favourite with that V12. I think we just need to temper expectations for this one. There's a lot to be learned from their first race of this length.
Yeah, I mean, first Le Mans is not an easy thing to get through. I think what they've learnt in the first 3 races of the season will sort of galvanise the team into trying to get a finish here. We actually saw in the test day they made some improvements on pace. They were quicker than the Persians, so you never quite know. They're going to have a massive support, of course, from the British contingent. They race under American flag, of course, with the Heart of Racing squad, but there will be a lot of Brits here supporting them. And look, you know, the 007, the 009.
How fun is the 007, by the way?
A little bit of Secret Service stuff going on there, of course, and the fans really do appreciate that sort of assimilation to the James Bond legend as well. But I think Aston, they are certainly going to be among the fan favourites just for the noise that they create around that project.
And there's a reason I've got us to pause here, Sam, because, well, these cars don't look so familiar to the WEC these days. Welcome back, LMP2. Can you kind of explain to us maybe why they're here?
They're all friends, aren't they? They're here because they're great. 22nd year of LMP2. Can you believe it's the longest rule set of any era? They're just fantastic stalwarts of the Le Mans 24 Hours and were of the WEC. So just to explain what LMP2 is, they're essentially the slightly smaller prototypes than the hypercars. They're spec, meaning that they have the same chassis and the same engine, and they run to a denomination of drivers within it where we have 9 Pro-Am entrants here with a designated bronze categorised driver, whereas the other entries have silver, gold and platinum drivers in their makeup. So we've got a fantastic grid here with some real big name drivers.
And I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you pick out a few cars that people should be keeping an eye out for this weekend?
Yeah, you'll see some of them behind us, just a fantastic array of colours and partners on these cars. I'm going to pick out probably half a dozen here. It's hard to actually understand any kind of hierarchy with these entrants, but certainly the EDEC Sport 18 car is a very notable one. It's won both races in the European Le Mans Series this season so far. Jamie Chadwick, internationally recognised female driver, actually good case to say that she is the sort of predominant woman racer in international motorsport, and she's taking part in her first Le Mans along with Andre Lotterer, some fantastic experience, and a really exciting newcomer called Matthias Joubert, who has been sensationally quick in the LMS this season. Number 22, one of the 2 United Autosports cars as well, has got an exciting lineup with Renger van der Zande, David Heimeyer Hansen, and Pietro Fittipaldi, who's done a number of Le Mans previously as well. Beyond that, I think the number 43 Inter Europol competition car as well is a really interesting one. They won, of course, in 2023. We got Jakub Śmiechowski in that car, and 2 drivers I think sort of go under the radar but are really sensational. Tom Dillman, who is a really well recognised development driver, very technical guy, super quick as well, and Nick Yellerly, who's a ex-BMW factory driver. So they've got a really strong unit there, and I think they'll be quite a force as well.
And as we move on from LMP2, I realise we might have done this the wrong way round because we're about to start walking through our hypercars, but we're going to talk about LMGT3, which I think has been a real roller coaster this year. 3 different winners from 3 different races. It's really hard to call who's going to be coming out on top at this weekend.
I think we've done it the right way around, actually, because once the traffic gets mixed up, it's all traffic and you don't know kind of which class is which, and everyone's overtaking each other, which is part of the beauty of Le Mans. But yeah, I mean, LMGT3 is going to be super close again. I mean, we've seen 3 different winners from 3 first races of the FIA WEC this season, and it just is too close to call. I mean, the Hypercar and the LMP2 is going to be extremely close. But looking at Ferrari, I think that they obviously have the momentum from what we saw in Spa with the 21 winning. I think the extra cars could be quite interesting as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing Lilou Wadou, who won the last European Le Mans Series race at Spa.
So many Ferraris here, I've just realised.
Zigo Sport have got an entry, which isn't a name that many people know, but Eddie Cheever Jr. is in that car, which is an interesting story. So lots of different threads throughout that. But I think that the Porsche, they've got Manthey have brought an extra car as well. Obviously, they're defending their crown in LMGT3. They were the first winners of that crown at Le Mans last season. So yeah, I think there's plenty to look at, but ultimately, it could well be that it's a Porsche Ferrari fight between them, which is a classic staple of Le Mans,
the good old days. Well, we've done Porsche, we've done Ferrari. I want to do Corvette next. Our current WEC Championship leaders of the 33 TF Sport. Ben Keating's got a few ghosts around here. He's had a lot of success, a few ghosts. How are we going on for this one?
That 33 car looks super strong. I've been really impressed with Johnny Edgar, who's done a fantastic job. Daniel Juncadella, of course, we know about his pace and his poise and his experience and the way that he manages the traffic as well. They started the season off fantastically. Corvette will be a feature here. And the sister car, of course, the TF Sport Corvette with Charlie Eastwood amongst that squad as well. They'll be worth watching. So, yeah, I think, there could be the American anthem and the British anthem as well, obviously through TF Sport playing on Sunday afternoon.
And from there, Sam, the LMGT3 class is so competitive. I'm not actually sure who to go to next. You're looking at the likes of Akodis and Lexus, who've just come out of nowhere this year and have made such huge steps. Ford and the Mustang, who got their podium here last year. But the one that I think I want to ask you about, we saw them and we walked past them earlier, the BMW, perhaps the 46, the WRT car.
Yeah, obviously a fan favourite, Valentino Rossi, second Le Mans. I think he's shown, it's really difficult for him last season, of course, showed well, but Ahmed Al-Hati had that unfortunate incident. I know Ahmed, and he will be really trying to erase that and come out with the results. So BMW are definitely going to feature, I think, probably with 46, I think he's strong, 31 of course. Don't forget that Yasser Shaheen is in that car and he won here last season, so he's going for a back-to-back.
And last but by no means least, I want to pick out the two British manufacturers down there, McLaren and Aston. I'm not sure who's my favourite between them, but again, they've just had such good pace this year.
Yeah, they've been there or thereabouts. I mean, McLaren's interesting, 30 years on, of course, from them winning that race in 1995. I think got a chance. I think the 59 is going to be a different livery with the Meningitis Society, which is going to be sponsoring that car.
Super
but
nice.
Also interesting, I think, is the 27. Mattia Drudi's been super impressive this season. I could see that 27 car coming on, and of course the racing Le Mans car as well. It's his first Le Mans with Eduardo Barrichello. But let's not forget as well, Alex, a very quick mention for Akodis ASP, because they've been super quick this year. Podium, pole position, we know what the next milestone is, don't we? And the great story in it, Jack Hawksworth, the second Le Mans that he's been a super sub. What a story that would be if Ben Barnicoat's replacement was able to get a great result this weekend.
Is that a hint for what your predictions might be?
Drum roll, predictions, Let's take LMGT3 first.
Sure.
LMGT3, am I going to go with the aforementioned number 27 Heart of Racing, Aston Martin? Wouldn't it be fantastic? What a great story. Ended the race on their heads last year with that Daniel Mancinelli shunt at Indianapolis. I just got a feeling that they're going to be over 24 hours super strong, so I'm going to go for 27.
And of course, we do have to do an LMP2 prediction for this weekend as well.
We do, and you're really testing me on this one. I mentioned them before. I think into Europol competition with that 43 car, Nick Yellerly, Jakub Śmiechowski and Tom Dillman. There's just something about that car. 2 wins out of 3 seasons for that team, for the Polish team. I think that would be a great story, but they're going to have to earn it. I mean, it's going to be super, super close.
And Hypercar?
Hypercar, overall winners, yeah, tough one. Almost too close to call. I think ultimately it's going to be one of Toyota or Ferrari. I'm actually going to go for the special livery fairy tale of number 7.
It would be
that
cool.
would be that car's second victory at Le Mans, and it would be, of course, Toyota's 6 in total. So I think that they could do it, and it'd be a great story as well for Mike Conway, who's back after missing the race last season as well.
Yeah, and just as we're stood here now, Sam, just taking a moment to look at this fantastic grid of cars, feeling very lucky to see all of these racing here this year, but there is potential for some more news about next year this week as well, no?
There is indeed. We've mentioned one already, haven't we? McLaren. We believe on the radar that this weekend, this Friday before the race starts, that McLaren will give more details about their already mentioned plans for Hypercar, and Ford as well are going to give some more details about what's happening there. I think who's leading that in terms of the team principals, and also just a bit more detail about where they're going to come from. They're joining this fabulous party, and can you imagine what superlatives are we going to come out with next year?
We're already run out, man. We're done for.
And in 2027, and don't forget Genesis are going to be coming as well. So we've got 3 fantastic new brands adding to all the ones that are already here.
I just cannot wait for this week to get underway. We are going to have, I think, one of the all-time races this year. We've got a stacked grid, brilliant competition. It's going to be mega. Sam, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you too. Don't forget, you can watch every session this week live on FIAWEC.tv. This is the one they all want to win. This is the 24 Hours of Le Mans.